In this video, I'm walking you through how to do prone hamstring curls with a strap. So you're going to be in this prone position on the floor and you're going to need your yoga strap. And you're going to have the yoga strap in a circle. Don't use a resistance band, they don't offer enough resistance. You really do need a yoga strap. And you're going to be feeding the strap into like the middle of your knees and your ankles and your lower legs. And you're having the strap at such a distance that when you squeeze out with your lower legs, you're keeping your feet and your knees more or less in alignment with your hips. So if it was too tight, you'd find that your knees were doing this, and then vice versa. If it was too loose, your knees would be like this and the feet would be coming close together. You're trying to keep everything, toe, ankle, knee and hip, all in a straight line. So that's not a straight line either. We're going to be thinking about that alignment through the feet as we do this exercise. Watch that your feet don't do funky stuff, which they may want to. Middle of toes, middle of ankles, middle of knees, middle of hips, all in alignment with each other. We're coming down to the floor. And your upper body is just relaxing. So you're going to take your hands and your arms into whatever position kind of suits you. Do be slightly aware of your rib cage here. So if I take my hands too far up, I tend to sort of like flare my rib cage. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like the front of my tummy is long and my lower back is a bit tight. So what I like to do is sort of change my rib cage position, sort of tuck it in a little bit more, like that. Hopefully you can see the difference there, but we don't want you sort of like flaring too much up in your rib cage. Upper body is relaxed. You're going to squeeze out against the strap with your lower legs. So you're maintaining a constant hold outwards against the lower legs in the strap. And what you should feel as a reaction is your lateral hip stabilizers waking up. So the muscles here on the outside edge of your hips. So the lower legs squeeze out against the strap. The feet are going to point really hard in plantar flexion. So you're going to try and get the tops of your feet and your sort of shins on the floor at the same time that you're squeezing out against the strap. And this might make your feet cramp. That's a good thing. Don't worry about foot cramp. Don't worry about any type of cramp. It's just a sign that you're waking something up a little bit differently to normal. So the harder that you point your toes, the more likely you are to get foot cramp because you're contracting the arches of your feet, which in many people, you know, if you've got like flat feet or pronated feet or whatever, your arches are not working properly. So this is getting the arches of the feet waking up. So feet point hard, maintaining squeeze out against strap. And what we're going to be doing is a movement that looks a bit like this. So the feet stay pointed, keeping the outward momentum against the strap, and this is what the movement looks like. However, when I am doing this, I feel absolutely nothing going on in my glutes and hamstrings. And that is because my pelvis isn't in the right position for me to engage my hip flexors. So I can do this and be very smug thinking that I find it extremely easy, but it's actually because I'm not doing it properly. So watch here as I take my feet up. Can you see how I go into my lower back? Like my lower back is kind of curving and moving. And what I'm doing in this position is I'm hyperextending my lower back and using the momentum of my feet to create the movement. So this should not feel easy on your glutes and hamstrings. It's your glutes and your hamstrings that are going to be working really hard to draw the lower legs up. So you've got like 4 different things going on here. So the squeezing out against the strap wakes up the lateral hip stabilizers. The pointing of your feet is going to wake up your kind of feet and calves. And then the last portion of the exercise is designed to get the hips and the pelvis, the hips extending by using the glutes and the hamstrings. So what we need to change in order to switch on our glutes and hamstrings is the tilt of our pelvis. So what I want you to do is to tuck your pelvis underneath. So can you see that how my lower back's changed? I've lengthened my lower back. I kind of squeeze my glutes, tuck my pelvis into a more posterior position. You can see how my lower back stays long, and it's like it slightly engages my abdominals a bit at the front as well. My hips stay grounded, keeping this pelvic position, which feels extremely unnatural for me to do, keeping the feet pointed and squeezing out against the strap. I maintain this pelvic position and use my hamstrings to draw my feet up nice and slowly, and I'm only going as far as I can until I stop feeling the work in the hamstrings. So if I rush it, what will happen is I'll go back here and I'll put my pelvis into extension again and be in my lower back rather than using the glutes and hamstrings. So the rule is here, take this, the rule for all the exercises, take them super, super slowly and focus on where the movement is coming from. So I'm tucking my pelvis under, keeping my hips on the floor, look at that length in my lower back as opposed to this, tucking that pelvis under, pointing my feet hard, and I'm really slowly using my hamstrings, the backs of my legs, to pull my feet up off the floor. I'm not using momentum, I'm not swinging, and I'm only going as far as I can while I feel it in my glutes and my hamstrings, and then I slowly lower it down. So the feet stay pointed, I'm squeezing out against the strap, tucking that pelvis under, using the glutes and hamstrings to create the movement. I'm not swinging my legs and my lower back is not changing. So notice here, I'm not arching my lower back. By the strong pelvic position I'm maintaining, I am keeping that lower back long, and that's putting the work into my hip extensors, glutes and hamstrings, rather than lower back hyperextending. I'm going to do 5 more here, tucking that pelvis under, just resetting again. I'm getting cramp in my right hip, which is good because it's my pelvis releasing, which is what I want. Pointing feet hard, off I go. So we're going to do 1. Notice how slowly I'm going, and I'm not trying to take my feet to my bum, because if I did that, then I'd lose the pelvic position. My glutes and hamstrings lead the movement. 2. My lower back is not changing as my feet lift up, because I'm really trying to tuck the pelvis under, which is super hard work for me. There's so much going on around my right hip right now. It's like stretching. 3, 4, 5. And that is prone hamstring curls with a strap. If you found that easy, you're not controlling your pelvic position. It should feel like these guys are working hard to pull the lower legs up and to keep you stretching through the front of your hips. So if it feels too easy and you're not feeling anything, you're swinging your feet and rolling your pelvis forwards and going into your lower back. You're not tucking that pelvis under and using the backs of the legs to create the movement, which looks and feels entirely different.